Think of a Mitsubishi Outlander SUV and you tend to think of plug-in hybrid power. This brand also, though, offers a conventional 2-litre 150 PS petrol version, which is much more affordable and will be a better bet if you regularly tow or drive off-road. Plus, it gives you the third seating row that PHEV variant buyers can't have. And it undercuts most of its D-segment SUV rivals on price. For sure, you get old-school virtues here, but there's certainly still a place for this Mitsubishi in this form. Welcome to the car that's rejuvenated Mitsubishi's sales in this country, the third-generation Outlander SUV. Now, we know this car best in its PHEV plug-in hybrid guise, but the brand also offers it in more affordable conventional petrol variants that have the added benefit of a third seating row. We first saw this third-generation Outlander design back in 2013 when it was launched with a 2.2-litre DID diesel engine. The PHEV version followed in 2014 and instantly transformed the plug-in hybrid market segment across Europe, racking up over 115,000 sales in the following 4 years. By 2018, though, the Outlander was facing greater challenges, not only the age of its design, but also the abolition of the UK government plug-in car grant that had previously done much to promote sales of the PHEV version. Mitsubishi's response was delivered in two parts. Firstly, the brand introduced significant changes to the Outlander PHEV, including a fresh 2.4-litre petrol engine mated to improved electrical technology, plus there was a classier cabin. The idea was to reassure buyers that this variant really could justify premium pricing. For those unable to stretch to the required asking figures but still wanting an Outlander, the brand changed its approach with regard to its range of conventionally engined models, deleting the 2.2-litre diesel option and offering instead a more affordable 150 PS 2-litre petrol power plant. So, will it all be enough to keep the Outlander range competitive in the ferociously tightly fought family SUV segment? Well, we're going to put one to the test to try and find out. If you're of the opinion that many family SUVs have just become estate cars with a little more ground clearance and a largely redundant all-wheel drive system, you might well like the conventional petrol-powered version of this Outlander. Despite its modern styling, there's something quite old school in the way that it drives, and I mean that as a compliment. Set off down the road and the feeling that you get is that of being in a proper SUV rather than some sort of ineffectual crossover vehicle. You sense the meatiness of the steering and the gutsiness of the 2-litre petrol engine, and you realise that this is a vehicle you'll be able to rely on, a car that will work with you, even in a tight spot. It delivers quite a different driving experience to that you'd get at the wheel of the alternative, a much pricier petrol-electric PHEV plug-in hybrid variant. The conventional petrol derivative offers 150 PS, which in rough terms is about 50 PS down on the PHEV model's total output. But with 340 kilograms less curb weight to lug about, this more affordable variant doesn't feel any less sprightly. 62 miles an hour from rest in this entry-level Outlander model occupies 13.3 seconds en route to a maximum of 118 miles an hour. And there's 195 newton-meters of torque, enough pulling power to facilitate a 2-litre brake towing capacity that's half a tonne more than the hybrid derivative can manage. Like the PHEV, this variant can only be had with an automatic gearbox, but it's a very different one. A more conventional Invex 2 transmission that I think actually suits this car rather well. Partly that's because I love the lovely tactile wheel-mounted paddle shifters that Mitsubishi borrowed for the Outlander from its old Evo Rally replica Super Saloon. But mainly it's because of the kind of petrol engine this is, tuned to develop its pulling power low down in the rev range to help with towing and off-roading. All of this will be of more importance to likely owners than pin-sharp driving dynamics, which is just as well, because this Mitsubishi is some way off being able to provide that. Cornering body roll will be pronounced if you enter a tight bend with any kind of rapid speed, and the suspension rather crashes over poorer tarmac tears. Now, doubtless, Mitsubishi could have improved both the handling and the ride quality of this car if it had included the kind of off-road compromises found in most of its SUV rivals. Refreshingly, the brand has stuck to its guns and its heritage in this respect, as a result of which this Outlander has a refreshingly large dose of Shogun in its genes. I'd certainly much rather be towing or tackling a muddy, rutted track in this car than in most of its rivals, Land Rover and Jeep excepted. True, more rugged tyres would make this a more capable off-roader, but for an SUV with independent suspension all round, wheel articulation is miles better than most cars in this segment. Hill start assist and a 21-degree approach angle get you going up steep slopes, and there's a similar 22.5-degree departure angle to get you down them again, though as you're slithering towards the bottom, you'll possibly regret Mitsubishi's decision not to bother with the fitment of hill descent control on this car. That, the restricted 21-degree breakover angle, and the lack of underbody protection might dissuade some owners from travelling too far off the beaten track, though the 190mm ground clearance figure is a lot better than most feebly capable crossovers can offer. As for the four-wheel drive system, activated through a centre dash push button, well, the first point I need to make is that in a brake, with the current fashion in this segment, you have to have it, at least in Britain. Indeed, even the plug-in hybrid variant of this car is only offered in all-wheel driven form. Other rivals offer two-wheel drive drivetrain options for those wanting to get their running costs down, but Mitsubishi hopes to have covered that here by including a four-wheel drive eco mode that powers the car through the front wheels nearly all the time anyway, only sending drive to the rear when a loss of traction is sensed. Now, there may not be too many occasions when you'd bother to switch to the second 4x4 setting, four-wheel drive auto, a mode which duplicates much the same functionality but operates the car less economically. That only leaves the final four-wheel drive lock mode that you'll only need if your Outlander ends up somewhere you really shouldn't have ventured with it in the first place. Here, the electronically operated clutch pack splits drive 50-50 between the front and the rear axles to deliver all the grip you're gonna get. This isn't an SUV you'd buy to make a driveway statement, but in its own way, it's a smartly functional bit of automotive technology. As for the changes made as part of the 2019 model year update to this third-generation Outlander design, well, they're relatively minor. Mitsubishi did, after all, make far-reaching aesthetic improvements to this car in 2016. Nevertheless, the company hasn't been able to resist further tinkering with what it calls its dynamic shield design direction, though you'd probably have to be either a previous owner or a brand enthusiast to notice the changes. The key updates apply here at the front, which gets a redesigned grille, this restyled bumper extension and smarter fog lamp bezels. Plusher models like this one that feature full LED headlights get them with a more stylish so-called technical look finish, and the lamps themselves feature auto levelling. There are small changes at the rear too, this large roof spoiler and another redesigned bumper extension. Otherwise, things are much as before, with LED tail lamps and this shark fin style roof antenna to add a smart finishing touch. The exhaust is subtly hidden away. Move to the side, and the high flanks, the raised belt line, the uncluttered surfaces and the strong shouldering that have always defined this model remain as before. Only these restyled 18-inch wheels have been altered as part of the package of updates we're evaluating here. We continue to be impressed with the way that the styling artfully disguises the size of this design. It's actually about the same length as a Kia Sorento SUV, an apparently much larger car. Time to take a seat behind the wheel. Now, Mitsubishi upgraded the cabin of this car quite a bit as part of changes made to this model back in 2016, which hasn't left much scope for many further changes that could be made to this 2019 model year car without a complete cabin redesign. This improved model does get a restyled instrument cluster, and the front seats have been recontoured to give more lateral cornering support. Otherwise, it's much as you were, which means we're left with a cabin that, with the volume trim levels, doesn't really have the class and quality of an equivalently priced diesel-powered German premium brand SUV rival. But, of course, you're getting a lot more technology in compensation. And plusher variants like this one do try and lift things a bit with things like padded door panels and this silver carbon trim on the doors and around the centre console. The brand has standardised its SDA smartphone link display audio system, which gives you a 7-inch high-definition centre dashboard colour infotainment screen framed in a gloss black panel above the climate control switchgear. From here you access the usual navigation, DAB audio, media and Bluetooth phone features. Plus, on the PHEV version there's a wide range of eco-driving support data. This setup's monitor looks a little small by modern standards and no longer has the physical volume and map scale knobs that it used to have, making it sleeker looking but ultimately less usable. Mitsubishi also fits the same SDA package to its smaller Eclipse Cross SUV, but there mates it to a rather fiddly lower touchpad. Here you're limited to voice activation or touchscreen functionality. As standard, this SDA setup includes Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone mirroring functionality, something you may find yourself using quite a lot because navigation isn't included as part of any of the trim levels, even the really expensive ones. That approach won't play well with potential buyers who want to keep a cap on data usage or who habitually drive in areas with a poor network signal. What else? Well, I mentioned that the seats are now more supportive. They're trimmed on entry-level versions with a durable material called C-Tech that stays warm in winter and cool in summer by reflecting UV rays. If you stretched beyond base Duro spec, you get this smart leather trim with even softer Nappa leather upholstery featuring at the very top of the range. Less impressive is storage provision around the cabin. Really, Mitsubishi has done pretty much the minimum here. That means 2 cup holders ahead of the gear stick and the usual centre storage box between the seats, so unfortunately it doesn't have any media attachment points inside it. The glove box and the door bins aren't especially big, and neither is this tiny coin cubby at the base of the centre stack. Still, now that Mitsubishi doesn't offer a sunroof in this car, there is at least no problem in providing a roof-mounted compartment for your sunglasses. Time to take a seat in the second row. And it's here that you'll notice the difference between a D-segment SUV like this one and smaller C-segment Qashqai class SUVs, many of which retail for much the same sort of money. To give you just one example, an Outlander is 261mm longer than a Qashqai, and that's a difference that really has to tell when it comes to rear seat space. As indeed it does. There's reasonable space back here for 2 adults, or 3 at a squash, with the third person's cause aided by the way that the central transmission tunnel has been kept usefully low. Just above, this model now gets twin vents, a surprising omission from previous versions. On this PHEV derivative, you can't slide this back bench forward and backwards in the way that you can on the alternative petrol variant. That's because of the battery pack situated beneath the seat. What else? Well, there's a centre armrest with cup holders, small but deep door pockets with bottle holders, small cubbies in the door pulls and seat back pockets. Plus you get this central USB port. And the seatbacks recline for greater comfort on longer journeys. That bulky battery pack also prevents PHEV buyers getting something else you can have on the conventional petrol model, a third seating row. Where fitted, these extra chairs are really only intended for children, but they are separate, properly sprung seats with integral head restraints and reclining backrests. Finally, let's take a look at the luggage space out back. A little disappointingly, you get a one-piece tailgate rather than the split folding affair found on the old pre-2013 second-generation Outlander model, perhaps because Mitsubishi wanted to follow the current fashion of providing power operation, which is standard, provided you avoid entry-level trim. It's a pity, though, that it works with arthritic slowness. Anyway, once the tailgate's raised, you'll find revealed a luggage space that, with a conventional petrol model, would necessarily be very small if all three seating rows were to be in use, just 128 litres. Here in this 5-seat only PHEV version, there's 731 litres of space. That's only 50 litres less than you get in the ordinary petrol version with the luggage area chairs folded. Rather curiously here, the cup holders from the ordinary petrol model's third row seating are retained on the right, along with a narrow storage tray on the left. There are no bag hooks, but you do get 4 tie-down points and a 12-volt socket. There are lower storage areas on each side, a right-hand storage compartment built into the cargo area sidewall, and further storage space beneath the floor, which is where you'll find the tyre repair kit. Unfortunately, no space-saver spare wheel is offered. If you need more space, then folding the second row backrest frees up 1.85 metres of floor length. Unfortunately, you can't extend that with the kind of fold-flat front passenger seat that some rivals offer. Still, the space provided here is likely to be sufficient for the needs of most owners. If you were to load up to the headlining, you'd have up to 1,472 litres of space in this PHEV variant. That's pretty close to the 1,608 litre total that you'd get from the conventional petrol model. If you like the idea of an Outlander, but aren't really wedded to the concept or the price of plug-in hybrid technology, then there is another alternative. A conventional 2-litre petrol model with 150 PS, priced much more affordably in the £28,000 to £30,000 bracket. Should you happen to be wondering about the diesel power this third-generation Outlander model was originally launched with, well, Mitsubishi no longer offers that with this car in the UK. How things have changed. All Outlanders come with four-wheel drive and automatic transmission, and if you go for the conventional petrol model, you'll get a third seating row as standard too. The petrol variant offers a choice of either Duro or Plusher 4 spec trim levels. So, enough with the Outlander range structure. Where does this D-segment SUV sit in its market in comparison to obvious rivals? Well, with the conventional 2-litre petrol model, the closest rival is probably Skoda's Kodiaq. In equivalent 7-seat four-wheel drive 150 PS petrol form, that Czech contender offers very similar pricing but considerably inferior levels of equipment. Otherwise, well, there aren't really too many other options. A petrol-powered 7-seat Honda CR-V would cost considerably more, and Peugeot's 5008 and Nissan's X-Trail might seem like obvious D-segment SUV rivals, but they can't be ordered with petrol power and four-wheel drive together. Other cars in this segment, like the Ford Edge, the Renault Koleos and the Toyota RAV4, can't be ordered with 7 seats. Enough with the alternatives. The short story here is that there aren't many rivals that properly replicate what this car can offer for the prices Mitsubishi is asking here. If you've come to that conclusion, then the deal might be sealed for you by a perusal of this Outlander's generous levels of standard spec. So let's take a look at that. Even with base Duro trim, this car comes very well equipped. At this level, you get 18-inch alloy wheels, roof rails, rear privacy glass, power folding mirrors, front fog lamps, headlamp washers, auto headlamps and wipers, and a Thatcham Category 1 alarm. Unfortunately though, there's no standard spare wheel, an omission we disapprove of on any kind of SUV. Instead you're stuck with a fiddly tyre repair inflation kit. Standard interior features across the range include air conditioning with dual zone climate control, an auto dimming rear view mirror, cruise control, a heated windscreen, heated front seats, Bluetooth phone connectivity and leather for the steering wheel and the gear stick. Rear parking sensors are missing at this level, but you do get a reversing camera. Infotainment is covered off by the brand's SDA smartphone link display audio system, which gives you a 7-inch high-definition centre dashboard colour infotainment screen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, smartphone mirroring and a DAB radio. If you want more, then 4-level spec delivers black leather seats and full LED headlamps with auto levelling. There's no longer the sunroof that used to be offered with this level of trim, but a 360-degree surround view camera is included, as is keyless entry, a powered tailgate and various camera-driven safety features that we'll cover off in a moment. On to extra cost accessories and options. One striking omission on the plushest versions of this car is the lack of satellite navigation. Now, it's all very well for Mitsubishi to point out that the Apple CarPlay Android Auto system means that owners can access navigation through their smartphones, but that won't help you if you need to find somewhere and you're in the country without much of a phone signal. It won't do anything for your phone carrier data charges either. On Duro or 4-level models, you can add in an infotainment package from the options list that will give you TomTom navigation, but it's expensive and something you shouldn't have to pay extra for on a car of this price. As for other accessories, well, metallic or pearlescent paint is optional across the range. We've got white pearl here, and there's a range of different 18-inch alloy wheel designs. And you could look at a chrome pack, which adds that finish to the door mirrors, the door handles and the tailgate. The door mirrors can, as a separate option, be finished not only in chrome but also in carbon, silver or brushed alloy. And you can have the tailgate garnished in either silver or chrome. You can add an Outlander emblem in black or chrome to the bonnet. Front, side or rear air dams can be fitted if you think that would add a sporty touch. An illumination pack gives you a useful charge point lamp plus LED number plate lights and extra LED cabin illumination. There's a separate LED interior light kit, or you can specify floor illumination in cool blue, or go for a package that'll give you mood and puddle lighting in the same colour. Integrated styling steps are optional too, as are front and rear side window deflectors. You might want to look at the Alpine audio system upgrade too. As for practical stuff, well, there's a range of tow bars, of course. There are various optional roof carriers and various bike carriers too, both for the roof and the rear. For the roof, you can also add a useful luggage carrier basket. There are roof carriers for skis and snowboards, and a roof carrier protection set can be ordered too. You can add side protection mouldings to guard against parking knocks, and a bonnet guard can protect from stone chips. Plus, entry guards can protect the door sills too. These also available in smarter stainless steel. A rear side window sunblind might be useful if you have kids. For the cargo area, there's a bumper protection plate and a luggage partition box for storage of smaller items. A dog pack contains a dog guard and a boot tray. A protection pack gives you front and rear mud flaps, textile floor mats, a boot tray, front and rear door sill protection and rear bumper protectors, all features that are also available separately. You can also add in front and rear parking sensors if the model you've gone for doesn't have them. And Mitsubishi offers a branded all-weather car cover. Enough with standard spec and options. Let's move on to consider safety. Most of what you'd expect to find is included. Mitsubishi is especially proud of its RASE, or reinforced impact safety evolution system, which aims to disperse energy loads during side and rear crashes and controls distortion, enhances occupant protection, and also helps to protect the fuel system in the event of a rear impact. In addition, there's all the more conventional stuff too. So every variant gets ISOFIX child seat fastenings, a pedestrian-friendly front bonnet, and bumper and twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus a driver's knee bag. There's also all the expected electronic assistance too, stability control, hill start assist to stop you from drifting backwards on uphill junctions, and a very effective MASTC setup, the Mitsubishi Active Stability and Traction Control System. Plus, if you stamp on the anti-lock brakes in an emergency, activating the standard brake assist system, the hazard warning lights are automatically activated to warn following motorists. It all helps to explain this car's 5-star Euro NCAP rating in independent tests, in which this car achieved a perfect 100% score in the active safety category. If you can afford to progress from base Duro spec to a 4-level model, you'll also get blind spot warning, which will alert you if you're about to pull out when there's another vehicle in your blind spot. There's a simple reason why Mitsubishi has kept the output of its conventional petrol engine Outlander model relatively low, namely to keep running costs in check. Nevertheless, you can't expect the figures delivered here to match those of more modern rivals. This is, after all, a tougher, more capable SUV than many of its competitors. Still, it doesn't do too badly, with a standard engine start-stop system enabling this variant to return 37.7 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 171 grams per kilometre of CO2. What else might you need to know? Well, there's a reasonably affordable insurance rating. That's Group 19E for the base Duro model and Group 20E for the plusher 4-spec variant. Another thing that you might be encouraged by as a potential buyer is the decently long 5-year warranty, though that's slightly spoiled by the brand's insistence on limiting it to 62,500 miles. As you'd expect in this day and age, there's a 12-year anti-perforation warranty and 3 years of pan-European roadside assistance and home start are included in the price. Servicing is required every year or 12,500 miles, whichever comes first, and you can keep maintenance costs down by purchasing a decent value prepaid servicing pack, which takes care of the cost of garage visits for 3 years or 36,000 miles. The pack costs around £450, and Mitsubishi says that over 90% of its customers purchase it. Sales of this third-generation Outlander design have primarily been focused on this car and its PHEV guise, but in its final few years of production, the more conventional petrol version may well grow in significance. Whatever your choice of powertrain, there's no doubt that this strong-selling Mitsubishi still has something to offer to family buyers in the tightly fought SUV D segment. The base petrol version offers 7 seats, decent 4x4 off-road ability and plenty of equipment for the kind of money you could easily pay for a well-specified model from the smaller Qashqai class SUV C segment, featuring only 5 seats and 2-wheel drive. Previously, pricey arrivals could, in compensation, point to slightly better cabin finishing and drive dynamics, which has made the 2019 model year update package we've been looking at here particularly significant, with changes that have improved this car in both these areas. This Outlander certainly now makes a slightly smarter driveway statement, and it's no longer any kind of dynamic duffer. All of which goes with asking prices that you might think would be difficult to beat. Other family SUV rivals may be able to offer more power, sharper handling and fancier cabins, but they struggle to match many aspects of this Mitsubishi's all-round ownership proposition. It's a thoughtful buyer's choice, and we can see why you might make it.